Hi, I'm Larry Buxton. This is Leading with Spirit. Many of us just got the news recently that one of the women in our congregation lost her son unexpectedly. Paul's death was a shock, and any parent can identify with the grief and anguish that news like that would bring. Similarly, when King David got the news that his son had died, his son Absalom, by the way, who was the victim of an insurrection that intended to overthrow David and replace him as king, when news of Absalom's death reached David, he too was stunned. And David's words are heartrending in their primal rawness. "Oh, my son Absalom, my son Absalom. Would I had died instead of you, O Absalom, my son, my son." 3 times by name, Absalom, 5 times, my son. David was just rocked by the brutal truth of his loss. There was no, "he's in a better place," varnishing of this reality. No, "I'll see you soon anyway," optimism posing as faith. David is just naked in his grief. For some reason, that reminded me in turn of the ways we like to muddy a lot of bitter truths in life and avoid their searing directness. Business leaders claim a disturbing trend as just a temporary dip so as not to rattle their stakeholders. Political leaders will caricature an ambitious policy proposal as nothing more than an assault on our values. Church leaders paint the national decline of their denomination and just point to poor evangelism or imperfect leaders. And American patriots attack any information that doesn't put our country in its best, most shining light. And that reminded me, a perennial optimist, of what's called the Stockdale paradox. In his book, Good to Great, Jim Collins wrote how critical it is for business leaders to embrace the point of view articulated by Admiral James Stockdale. Imprisoned for 8 years as a POW in Vietnam, Stockdale survived by holding 2 seemingly opposite points of view. One was the unvarnished and brutal fact of his captivity. The other was his commitment to prevail no matter what. The optimists were the ones who died in prison, Stockdale said. Those who said, "This isn't that bad. We'll be out by Christmas. Just hang in there." The survivors were the ones who knew they had ruthless captors, no release date, no chances or promises of any kind, but who were still determined that they would win out in the end. In other words, hope was essential, but hope alone was never a strategy for survival. So here's where I've landed with this. The truth that sets us free is often harsh and raw, but it doesn't get the ultimate word. Death is agonizing and brutal and final, and God will bring eternal life from it. Our businesses, our congregations, our families may be in deep trouble, and they shall prevail in the end. And our nation is still full of racist brutality. And we will become a more just society. So this is just a plea that we stop blurring the truth and muddying the obvious, that we can see through the euphemisms and have the courage to name reality. Look, I'm an optimist. This is not easy. But you and I can face harsh and painful realities. And with unbending hope, leaning into that power that accomplishes in us more than we can ever ask or imagine, we too will prevail. Thanks for watching Leading with Spirit. Share this with someone else. You might also mention to your pastor or rabbi or Bible teacher that I'm preparing 10 sermon starter videos on the 10 Bible readings about David that are included in this summer's lectionary. You and they can learn more about teaching, preaching, and hearing David's story in a worship context. That's coming soon, so be watching for that. Thanks again, and God bless you.